then I'm going to call forward here as a next speaker. We got Semi Technologies and Google. Raphael Neuhaus and Byron Vorbach, can you please come here? Looking forward to have you here. Come on up. Yeah, of course. I think you may have heard of Google before. It's a tiny startup from California. They're doing pretty well these days. And Semi Technologies is an AI-driven platform that also supports companies globally. So I'm really curious to hear about your talk today. So please take it away.
All right, thank you very much.
Let's give him a big hand first, right? Okay, let's warm him up.
Just getting the clicker. All right. So hello and welcome everybody to the last day of Amsterdam Fintech Week and to the first of 2 talks by Google Cloud. My name is Raphael and I work with technology companies like Semi Technologies to help make them successful on our platform. And I also work with our VC and startup programs. This talk focuses on collaboration between us and technology companies. But before we get there, I want to lead you all up to Google Cloud and start by asking who of you uses Google services daily? Okay, it's a lot of hands, also from my Google colleagues, so I'm not sure how that counts. So I also use Google services daily. I assume, as do you. My favorite functionalities are, for example, the speed of maps and the AI-guided recommendations in YouTube. And what Google Cloud is Google technology being outsourced and being made available to businesses to digitally transform, particularly for tech startups. There's nobody better to tell you about that than Byron.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Byron Vorbach. I'm head of customer success and solution engineering at Semi Technologies. I come from a technical background. I've only joined Semi Technologies about 4 months ago. Before that, I was working as a software engineer and a consultant, and I've been working together with, for instance, Albert Heijn and Bol.com for the last few years to build enterprise search solutions.
All right, thanks for the intro. I guess the enterprise search background led you up to Semi Technologies. So maybe from there we can take a bridge to the actual company. Can you tell us more about Semi Technologies, one of the most interesting Amsterdam-based tech startups, in my opinion?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll come back to the search part a little bit later on when we explain what kind of product we have and what kind of services we are offering. But Semi Technologies is a Dutch-based startup, originated from 2019, coming from the ING Labs incubator program. We create open source AI-first infrastructure. What that exactly means, I'll elaborate a little bit further. But what in general, we believe that the next wave of software infrastructure is AI first, and that a strong open source community is the basis for creating high value software.
I guess that's really what connects us, Semi and Google, the focus on AI first and the focus on open source technology. And to get closer to talking about the product, could you tell us a little bit about what kind of problem you see and how you solve it?
Yes, definitely. So we have our flagship product called Weaviate, which is an open source vector search engine. Now, just a question to the audience, who knows what a vector search engine is? Can anyone raise a hand? Not a lot. But actually, you're using this every day. By coming here, by using Google products, by using Google Search, you're actually interacting with a vector search engine on a daily basis. With vector search and Google, you're able to send an image and it finds products or documents or content related based on those images. If you ask Google a question, it will show you a box with your actual answer of the question that you answered. If you search for certain topics within Google, for instance about wine, you will get different types of wine without actually documents having to state that it's about wine. Now, all of this is powered by vector search. One thing we set out to do originally was to create a product to bring these kind of capabilities to companies. So Google is very good in creating these search engines, but these are not accessible to use on your own data set. So what we do is we created an open source vector search engine, which allows companies to ingest their own type of data and create these kind of search capabilities on top of their own domain.
Okay. Thanks for the intro. And how do you do that under the hood? What is the technology behind it like?
Yeah, I can explain. Are there any wine enthusiasts in the audience? A few. I hope not this early in the morning, though. But I can tell you a little bit about how this works with an example. So in order to figure out how a vector search engine works, you have to understand what vectors are and what embeddings are. Now, for instance, we have a document, which is a Covey Run 2005 Chardonnay. I don't know if anyone knows this specific bottle or whether it's good, but it's just an example. And what we do with this data is we run it through a machine learning model. There's a lot of different types of machine learning models available, but what that machine learning model has as an output is a vector. Now, a vector is just a number representation of a coordinate in a hyperdimensional space. Sounds super vague, but you can imagine it as a sort of a 2D or a 3D plane where you create a coordinate for this type of text, and you plot that document within that coordinate space. Now, if you would ingest more types of wines and more types of data, these coordinates of these type of wines would be located very closely together, so they would be very near each other. So what this looks like as an example, if we have on the left side our document, which is about wine in the Covey 2005 example, if we plot that into this dimensional space, we can see on the right that it finds Riesling wines, other types of Chardonnay wines, without actually having to explain that this document is about wine. So within this vector space, you can add all different types of data and then allow users or allow companies to extract business value by searching through this hyperdimensional space and retrieve relevant information.
All right, thanks for the explanation. The more we go through this, the more clear this becomes to me as well. This is obviously complicated for someone not coming from a technical background. And for the people not coming from a technical background, could you maybe summarize once more what this looks like for a company, how people from companies here in the audience can consume Weaviate?
Yep, definitely. So we're in essence a database, so a storage for your data. And what we allow to do is search and filter on these vectors. So traditional search engines allow you to search on text, and with adding additional information, you can enrich that data for improving the amount of business value you can extract from that data. But with our vectors and structured filters, you're able to create an experience or extract business value very easily. It's easy to run in the cloud. It's cloud native. Again, it's open source. We prefer to share our technology with everyone, and also would like input on improving this and extending on it to create more business value. And it has the basic properties of any database, which allows you to read, create, and update data on a large scale.
All right. And seeing that this is Amsterdam Fintech Week, of course, can you tell us a little bit about applications for Weaviate in the financial space, in fintech?
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking for more companies. So if there's anyone very interested in unlocking new business value based on the data that you have, we would be happy to work with you. We're currently working with one customer in the fintech industry, with which we're analyzing payments done. So they're a payment processor. And what they do is they use Weaviate to categorize and extract business information from transactional data. So we have companies that have a point of sale system. Every time receipts are being generated, all that transactional information is sent to Weaviate, and then analysis is done to determine trends, to figure out, could be used for fraud detection and other type of applications. Another example of how vector search could fit within fintech is, I don't know if anyone is familiar with the ABN AMRO app called Grip. It's a household tooling which allows you to analyze your expenditures, and it's able to categorize these expenditures into either going out for dinner, having mortgage payment, utility costs, supermarket purchases, and it's able to classify these transactions based on the data that's within it. Now, what you could do with Weaviate is, on top of that, you could give the possibility to users to search through that data. So if they would link up their data with, for instance, receipts, they could search for how much did I spend on wine in the last month. Maybe that's not something you would want to see. But there are capabilities to give more information back to users and give more control to figure out what they are actually spending their money on, or what kind of business value they can create from that.
Okay, very cool. I really like that functionality in my banking app, that it gives me the overview of how much I'm spending on restaurants, etc. But I never thought about what it looks like under the hood. And then, besides fintech, could you give us a quick overview of other industries where Weaviate can contribute something?
Yeah, so fintech, like I mentioned, is sort of a new area for us. We're still exploring what we could add as a business value there, but we're already working with a lot of other industries. A big one is e-commerce. You can imagine that if you search for, if you're on a supermarket website and you search for barbecue, right now all of these documents need to be related to barbecue, but we know semantically that if you have a barbecue, you want to have plates, you want to have maybe tablecloths, you want to have ice cream for desserts. Specific barbecue-related products we are able to retrieve because they are semantically similar to this kind of data. Next to e-commerce, there's a lot of other industries where classification or machine learning really adds benefit, and those are industries that we are active in as well.
Okay, cool. And then we've talked a lot about the product. We talked about the company behind the product. Of course, you're a tech startup as well, so I think there's also some interesting things to talk about there. First, we were interested who of you works for a startup or with startups. Okay, quite a few. Then there's something exciting that recently happened for Semi. You raised your Series A. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So we are very happy that we started this year with an investment from Cortical Venture and NEA investment company for our Series A. So we received a 60 million Series A venture for further development of the project. We started out with nothing. We started without any capital. And we were introduced to Google and the Google Cloud Startup Program, which allowed us to get a head start on the development of our software and our services, and really propelled us towards getting to this Series A.
All right. Yeah, thanks for summarizing it like that. You are one of our favorite graduates of the Google Cloud for Startups program. But before we dive more into that, NEA is the investor that also invested in Elastic and MongoDB, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So for me, that was a very exciting signal to join Semi. Since I've been working with search technology in the past, and Elasticsearch being one of the biggest companies in the Netherlands, tech companies, that is mostly focused on this industry, we're expecting to get into a new realm of this search capabilities. So for me, that was very interesting to join the company and to be backed by such a large VC as well.
Yeah, it's definitely very exciting. And yeah, of course, you weren't always at this stage. You just mentioned your beginnings in 2019 with the Google Cloud for Startups program. I think our audience is not super technical, right? So maybe could you explain in simple terms why cloud is necessary for a ML-heavy company like Semi, and how the startup cloud program, the credits, then helped you?
Yeah. So starting up this company, we created our database and search engine to be open source, which means that companies can just download our software, run it themselves, use it without us even knowing that they're using it, because we really like adding value in this kind of way. Next to that, we also have to think about how we want to turn this into a profitable company. So over a multi-year program, we want to slowly switch from building on top of this open source solution by offering managed service around it. So there's a lot of companies that are interested in using Weaviate, but they don't want to have the knowledge in-house to, for instance, run it themselves, run it in the cloud, manage it, do upgrades, and be technical support on the project itself. So we're developing a business around it by creating support programs and building our own solution as a service, which means that without any interaction by us, you can go to a website, request a Weaviate cluster, and start using it today. Now, in order to build that, we need to deploy this in the cloud so that it's accessible by a lot of users. We need to have fault tolerance. In case something breaks down, we need to have this data available in other locations of the world, which means that we have to build quite a large technical infrastructure. And we're currently using Google Cloud for building that complete solution on.
All right, thanks for wrapping that up. Since the theme of the conversation is collaboration, maybe we can take a look into the future. How are you planning to do that together with us? There's some of our engineers in the audience, for instance, do you already have a vision around that?
Yeah, so we definitely need some help with taking this development further. Who knows best but Google to build products on top of their own ecosystem. We started out back in 2019 with some investment credits, but now we want to take the next step into really building out our solution as a service, and we really can use Google's helps and its engineers to develop this into a platform that's usable by companies all over the world.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You were at our office yesterday. We're looking forward to having you there again and diving deeper into the next step for Semi and the upcoming SaaS version. We have 4 minutes left on the clock, so we wanted to wrap it up by showing you how to get in touch with Semi, how to join the Slack channel, but also how to join the Google Cloud for Startups program, just like Semi did back in the days. And with that, we have some time left for our questions, if there are any.
Anyone in the room with a question for distinct guests? Anyone? Still waking up? I think it's time for a coffee break, perhaps, right? We may have to reanimate everyone here a bit.
If there's no questions from the audience, then I have one. So coming from a quiet office culture-focused company, you mentioned you're remote first. What is that like, and are there any challenges? I think it's an interesting one to talk about, especially in this era.
Yeah, definitely. So on a personal level, I think COVID had its downsides, but it also had its upsides. Working as a software engineer at home, being stuck in home all day, I noticed that myself. I think it's quite nice to work remote and be able to work wherever you want. This is also incorporated in our beliefs as a company because we feel like we can work with anyone, anywhere, and any time. Next to that, we're a globally available company, so we need to be able to deliver support across multiple time zones, which means that we have a distributed team of people working in Australia, working in San Francisco, all over the globe, and having to manage that. So it is kind of a struggle in some ways, because we're always used to just go into a room, grab a whiteboard, draw some things out, and move further from that. But I think COVID sort of helped us get to a stage where we're using more collaborative online tooling to do this. So Google Jamboard for us is something we use, for instance, for online collaboration with the whiteboard, which takes some time to transition into and get everyone used to. But if as a company you take this as a value straight from the beginning, everyone who is onboarding from that moment on can take that into their culture and their DNA as well.
Okay, thanks for summarizing. And with that, we give you 2 minutes back. Last remark that I have, the next Google Cloud session is happening here on the main stage at 1:30, and it's about the transition of green and digital. So be there, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's give Rafael and Byron a very big hand. Thank you very much, guys. Really interesting talk, and I think quite nice to hear from you how you make the transition. I think especially quite useful tooling that I think a lot of people here would love to get their hands on and try. So thanks for sharing that. Have a great one. I think just for a good one, I think a couple of faces I see already now for about an hour sitting here at least. You may want to get a coffee or not, but let me give you 5 minutes in any case to do that before we announce the next speaker, right? We haven't got a full break in the program, but I'd like to make sure you're all well rested before you receive the next input that we'd like to give you. So I hope to see you back in 5 minutes, and then everyone else who was at the back could actually take a seat. So see you in a bit.